You know, what if I told you that the real secret to unlocking your potential isn't more freedom, but actually more limits? I know, it sounds completely backward, right? But today, we're going to dive into why the right kind of constraints might just be your single greatest creative weapon. All right, to get our heads around this, let's start with a really interesting puzzle. Think about this. Why would one of the richest people on the entire planet trade his incredible mansions for a tiny prefabricated house? We're talking about Elon Musk here. He's sold off his whole real estate portfolio, and his made home became this tiny, foldable house in Texas that's apparently worth something like 50 grand. It's just bizarre, right? But trust me, the reason he did it is the key to everything we're talking about today. See, this move had absolutely nothing to do with saving money. I mean, come on. It was a purely strategic decision. It was all about getting rid of distractions so he could channel every ounce of his energy into his mission. Honestly, it's a perfect masterclass in how to use limits to get ahead. So let's really unpack this billionaire's tiny house. What in the world was he trying to optimize for when he decided to just ditch all those mansions? Well, he was getting rid of what you could call noise assets. Think about it. A giant house isn't just a place you live, it is a massive, massive drain on your most precious resource, your attention. You've got maintenance, security, staff, parties you're supposed to host, all of it. By cutting all that out, he seriously reduced his cognitive load, that mental bandwidth you spend just managing your life. It also helped clarify who he is. He's an engineer, not some guy managing real estate. And maybe most importantly, it sent a powerful signal to everyone on his team that he was all in, 100% focused on the mission. So let's be super clear here. This is not about plain pretend poverty, okay? The guy still has a private jet. This is about a really radical kind of life optimization. He looked at his life, identified that his houses were a huge source of distraction, not adding any real value, and he just removed them from the equation. Simple as that. And his story is a perfect illustration of the core idea for today, what we call the paradox of constraints. Okay, so what is a strategic constraint? Well, it's not some limit that's forced on you from the outside. No, it's a rule you actually choose for yourself. Think of it like building a specific kind of racetrack. It's a deliberately designed boundary that, instead of holding you back, actually helps you go faster by forcing you to be more resourceful, more focused. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because it goes against everything we think we want. We're all chasing unlimited freedom, right? But the problem is that often just leads to what psychologists call decision fatigue. You have so many choices that your attention gets scattered all over the place. A strategic constraint, it does the exact opposite. It purposely limits your choices, which lets you concentrate all of your attention and really go deep on the few options that are left. So, how does this magic actually work inside our brains? Well, a few things happen. First, it narrows what's called the search space for solutions. So, you're not trying to boil the entire ocean. It makes finding an answer way more efficient. Second, it forces you to concentrate your limited mental energy on the actual problem at hand. And third, and this is the big one, it triggers this incredible shift in your thinking. You stop thinking, oh, I can't do this, and you start asking, okay, how can I get this done with the tools I've got right here? And that right there is where real innovation is born. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. History is absolutely packed with amazing examples of innovation that came directly from some pretty serious limitations. Just take a look at these. I mean, the NASA Apollo program, they landed a man on the moon using a computer that had less memory than a cheap calculator you can buy today. That is insane. That constraint forced them to write some of the most hyper-efficient software in history. Or how about Apple? Their entire design philosophy is one big strategic constraint. It's all about subtraction, about saying no to 1,000 ideas just so they can perfect the few that truly matter. And then there's Minecraft, a game with literally limitless creativity built from one incredibly simple rule. Everything is a block. What all these examples do is they directly challenge a myth that's so deep in our culture, this idea that success means having massive, sprawling spaces. Yeah, we tend to get the cause and effect completely backward on this one. Success can absolutely lead to a big house, but a big house does not lead to success. It's a symbol, a result, not a tool you use to actually get there. And when you really break it down, the hidden costs are just enormous. Sure, it signals status, no doubt, but it's constantly draining your time, your money, and most importantly, your focus. It just becomes another thing on your to-do list to manage, another drain on your mental energy that pulls you away from the very work that creates success to begin with. Because let's just be honest about what really drives quality thinking and breakthrough ideas. It's focus, it's intellectual challenge, it's deep, uninterrupted work. And guess what? Not one of those things has anything to do with how many square feet you live in. Okay, so this all sounds great, but how do we actually apply this powerful idea to our own lives? Well, it all comes down to designing your own strategic constraints. But first, we have to make a really important distinction. Not all constraints are created equal. We are not talking about those negative, rigid limitations that other people force on you. A good constraint, a strategic one, is something you choose for yourself. It has a purpose, it's flexible, and it should feel empowering, not like you're stuck in a box. And you can design these for yourself in 4 key areas. First, you have temporal constraints. Think of this like setting a deadline for a big life goal. It just forces you to act. Then there are domain constraints. This is where you define what you're going to focus on and, just as important, what you are going to actively ignore. Third, resource constraints. You can cap the time, money, or energy you'll spend on something, which forces you to be super efficient. And finally, you have principle constraints. These are your personal rules, the lines you just won't cross, which makes a ton of decisions way, way simpler. So here's a simple 4-step way you can start doing this right now. Number 1, choose one central theme for your life, just for right now. What's the main thing? Number 2, define 3 things you will explicitly stop doing to make room for that theme. Number 3, set an upper limit on the resources, time, money, whatever, that you're going to invest. And number 4, and this is key, schedule a time every few years to review and redesign these. They're meant to be flexible and serve you, not trap you. So, I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. Our whole culture screams at us to chase freedom, to have no limits, to break all the rules. But what if the thing you need most isn't more freedom? What if the thing you really need is a limit you choose for yourself?